Hello, it's Saturday, June 9th. I'm Nurbek Savitakhunov, and these are the news from Kazakhstan. Russian experts will be involved in the construction of a nuclear power plant in Kazakhstan, announced President Nursultan Nazarbayev at a meeting with his counterpart Vladimir Putin. The head of state commissioned an analysis of the country's demand in energy, which will determine the capacity and location of the intended facility.
I think in the future we will work with our Russian partners on the construction of nuclear plants in Kazakhstan. Our most cutting-edge plant was the nuclear installation BN 350, but now we want to see the updated unit. The Russians say they will start the construction as early as next year. In addition, during Vladimir Putin's short visit, he spent only one evening in Astana. The heads of two states agreed to extend the terms of their citizens' visit to each other's countries without registration to 30 days, instead of previously 1 week. The presidents also extended the friendship agreement between Russia and Kazakhstan for the next 10 years and signed a number of economic documents. Two of our companies, Avtovaz and Solaris UAZ, intend to invest here. They plan to start producing cars and trucks in Kazakhstan. We're talking about 100,000 units as a start.
Many question whether Kazakhstan needs its own nuclear plant. Most come to the conclusion that there is more harm from the nuclear power plant than good. The next report has more. The opponents of nuclear plant construction refer to Chernobyl and Fukushima accidents as examples. The horrible consequences of disasters in Japan and Ukraine will be felt for many decades to come. Civic activist Sirikjan Mambitalin also gives several arguments against the construction. He says nuclear energy is needed primarily in the overpopulated countries, which don't have their own hydrocarbon production. This is not the case with Kazakhstan. Perhaps 50 years down the line, the country will need nuclear energy, but by that time the technology might be already obsolete, and Kazakhstan may become a testing ground yet again. The Russians are planning to set up the same reactor in Aktau as they use in nuclear submarines. This has never happened in history before, that nuclear submarine reactors are used in civilian projects for the production of electric energy. So I suggest that the Russians build it in their own country first, test it for 20 years or so to see how it works, and then propose it to us. Kazakhstan is not ready for the construction of nuclear power plants. Without the appropriate legal foundation for the development, we can neither build a nuclear plant properly, nor operate it. We will not be able to utilize the nuclear waste and protect the environment. Officials spoke about the plant's location on numerous occasions, noting that most likely it will be constructed in the Balkhash, Kurchatov, or Mangistau regions. The authorities, however, never asked local residents whether they would like to live next door to such a facility. So we decided to conduct our own survey. Here's what people had to say in Aktau.
I'm against nuclear power because it can explode just like in Japan. This is very bad for people's health. I'm also against it. I don't want it. I don't want nuclear power. If it is going to bring economic benefits, I'm all for it. People in Aktau are already sick as they are. We have problems with pancreas and gall. We have people with heart problems and blood pressure. But if you go to the hospital, we don't have good cardiologists. I think I'm against it. No, I don't want nuclear power plant to be built here.
Another equally important issue that was on the agenda of Vladimir Putin and Nursultan Nazarbayev is the lease of Kazakhstan's territories to its northern neighbor. Russian newspaper Izvestia noted that Putin intended to ask Nazarbayev for areas in the Aktyuba and Kostanay regions. Roscosmos Space Agency needs them as landing locations for rocket stages launched from the Baikonur Space Launch Facility. For these purposes, Russia is ready to pay a nominal fee of $460,000 a year. More on the lease in the next story.
This meeting of the presidents could have had just a nominal value. While finishing his international tour, Vladimir Putin stopped by to see his longtime colleague and friend Nazarbayev. It seemed that they went over everything, including the signing of the Friendship Treaty, easing of registration process for citizens, and discussing plans for the construction of the nuclear plant. But one issue still stood out. The press immediately picked up the vibe, with headlines frequently mentioning Baikonur Space Launch Facility. It looked like the vital agreement was reached after all. The tone shift was quite noticeable, as before the visit newspapers reported about Kazakhstan breaking terms of rocket launches or banning them altogether due to the lack of the clause specifying the areas for landing of rocket debris. No clause, no agreement, no money. Some observers say this was a political blackmail on the part of Kazakhstan. The head of Kazakhstan Space Agency had to be involved to dismiss all concerns. You know that Kazakhstan approves the schedule of rocket launches for Russia every year, so the same approval needs to be signed in 2012. All previously approved launches will happen on time. We should not make a big political fuss about it. Russian agencies just couldn't make the necessary arrangements on time, and therefore the agreement has not yet been signed, neither by us nor by the Russian side. Theories about restrictive measures by Kazakhstan's side are false. During the Friday's meeting of the space agency's heads in Almaty, astronaut Talgat Musabayev explained everything in detail. At this point, the rumors of political blackmail have been dismissed, but it looks like the talks of Russia leasing some Kazakhstan's territories are indeed true. Russian newspaper Izvestia reported recently that Putin intends to ask Nazarbayev for territories in 2 regions which can be used as landing areas for rocket debris. The price is also not a secret, just $460,000 per year. Space expert Igor Lisov believes that land leasing plan is quite feasible. For instance, China evacuates 200,000 people every time it makes a space launch. We're talking about previously designated areas where separated rocket stages will fall in case of a successful launch. These areas simply were not included in the 1994 rental agreement, and therefore they need to be included for legal use. But since the principal agreement amount is already $115 million, these 460,000 sound ridiculous. Both sides just have to agree on the new map of areas where rocket debris could land. There might be additional costs, but we should pay it if we do really need this. According to the experts, some risks are inevitable, but specialists always try to minimize them. Wherever you point your rocket, its first stage will still land in Kazakhstan. Also, not all of them run on heptil, only Dnieper. Previously, falling debris had large volumes of heptil inside, but now we have fixed this issue, so the stage burns all the fuel and only then separates. Thus, this issue has been resolved from the technical point of view, but not from political. Therefore, there is some room for political speculation. While Russian experts are discussing Russia's expenses, the agreement is strongly opposed in Kazakhstan. We're talking about the price for 3 new Mercedes, but our wildlife is dying there, and I suspect it happens after the launches because the dropped heptil that sinks into the soil is extremely toxic. I was told that if you throw a copper coin into a heptil bath, it will dissolve before reaching the bottom. This is just a nightmare, a sell out of homeland. For now, the Kosmos Agency only confirms that all launches will take place on schedule, and the agreement with Russia will be sent to the parliament for the approval in the near future.
The widow of Russia's first president, Boris Yeltsin, has also arrived in Kazakhstan on Friday. Naina Yeltsina opened a special exhibit in Astana where some 300 photographs show her late husband during key moments in Russian history. The exhibition will run until the end of August.
I'm very happy that we have such kind, neighborly and very sincere relations between our people and countries. And this, of course, is the legacy of our first presidents. Naina Yeltsina, who turned 80 in March, came to Kazakhstan with her daughter Tatiana. Together they went along the exhibit. It doesn't have a particular theme and shows the first president of Russia in various situations at different points of time. As Naina Yeltsina said, the exhibit will help Kazakhstan citizens to see Yeltsin in a new way and will reveal remarkable traits of his character. In the photographs, Boris Yeltsin is sometimes shown as fun-loving and carefree person, while in others he appears thoughtful and almost tragic. The exhibit was attended by Kazakhstan's leader Nursultan Nazarbayev and later by his daughter Dariga Nazarbayeva. They were talking with Naina, and this was indeed very touching. They shared a lot of memories, and I truly regret that I didn't have a voice recorder to capture all these valuable memories. Gulnara, the daughter of Uzbekistan's President Islam Karimov, released a new solo album in English. Gugusha, as she's known in the biz, currently resides in Switzerland and is an ambassador to UN. The new album has been already released in the United States, Europe and Asia. The daughter of Uzbekistan's president also has her own fashion and jewelry lines, selling in Moscow and Tashkent boutiques.
Relatives of the arrested border guard Vladislav Chilach, charged with killing 14 people at the Kazakh-Chinese border, were granted a visit, reports news agency Kazanform. Officials assisted the low-income family, covering their transportation costs to reach Almaty. The visit itself will take place in the Alakol district of the Almaty region.
Chilak's family hopes that a communication with their son will help to establish the truth about the tragic events. According to the official version of the General Prosecutor's Office, the only surviving border guard is a primary suspect in the case of the burnt outpost. The Prosecutor's Office representative Nurdaulet Suyndikov told the press that Chilak confessed to killing 14 other border guards and a huntsman. At the moment, a special commission is investigating the crime motives. Chilak's family have already stated that they will appeal to the European Court to prove Vladislav's innocence, while his grandfather Vladimir Chilak told the press he was going to expose the investigators' unbelievable version of events on the popular Russian talk show Pust Говорят. He, however, is yet to receive a response from Moscow.
Official investigation says internal conflict served as a motive for the murder of 14 border guards. However, service veterans are confident hazing was not practiced at the border. Representatives of the Zastava Tarlandari Public Association issued a statement extending their condolences to the families and friends of the killed soldiers and noted their concerns about the press's speculation and unflattering opinions regarding everyday life and service at the border following the May incident.
For many years, Usharal Border Patrol Unit was recognized as the best in annual NSA's Border Patrol Review and was the initiator of the combat contest. The unit had strong traditions, and one of them was disapproval of hazing practices. We called the press to refrain from making hasty conclusions and unjustified evaluations of the recent incident. The investigation will determine who is responsible and what caused the tragedy at the Arkan-Kergen checkpoint.
In the meantime, teams made up of personnel from different security agencies held a sports competition on Friday in Astana. The games were held as part of a sports contest between law enforcement and security agencies. Teams from the Ministry of Emergency Situations, the Ministry of Internal Affairs, the National Security Council and Financial Police participated in the competition. Border patrolmen and policemen made it to the volleyball finals, where the police won confidently, scoring 3-0. The head of the police department, Kalmuhamed Kasimov, was present at the game and told reporters he had no doubt of his team's success. He also added that police officers are also strong in close combat, of which Kazakhstan citizens surely have no doubt. Our physical training is not optional but mandatory. We have strict regulations for many sports. Close combat is a key one, as it's the basis of our physical training. As for competitive sports like volleyball and five-a-side, our teams are made up of the best personnel we have. Also on Friday, members of the National Social Democratic Party Azat, human rights advocates and journalists, visited civil activists Kairat Yerdibayev and Galim Agileuov in detention. After the dissenters' rally in Almaty on June 2nd, they are serving 15 days of administrative arrest. Our reporting crew was also at the scene.
This is Amirjan Kosanov, a regular here. We've come to pass some food and letter to our associates Kairat Yerdibayev and Galim Agileuov. Amirjan Kasanov ended up in the detention center twice this year. That is why he regularly visits his associates who are kept under arrest there now. With his party colleagues, he came to support Yerdibayev and Agileuov and brought them food and letters. Unfortunately, the guards accepted only water and juice, along with newspapers, to keep prisoners posted regarding the events in the country. Kairat Yerdibayev and Galim Agileuov will not be released until June 17. We should think about adding amendments to the legislation so that minor offenses would not be punishable with imprisonment, but with fines instead. The activists were arrested right after the center's rally on June 2nd. Galim Agileuov made a speech outraged by an unfair trial of oil workers from Zhanaozen and Shetpe. He shared his views with the crowd near Abay Monument, and that cost him his freedom. The verdict for Zhanaozen residents will be passed on Monday at 10 a.m. However, the evidence accumulated is insufficient to make it. We still don't have the whole picture of the situation on December 16 and 17. Who is responsible? Were the people provoked? Who were those men in black? Were they from Zhanaozen or the authorities sent them? Those questions have never been answered.
Earlier, the wife of Alga party leader Vladimir Kozlov, Aliya Turuzbekova, was able to meet her husband. The politician was placed in a knocked-out prison more than a week ago. According to Turuzbekova, Kozlov is in fine condition, but the politician is concerned that the authorities may imprison him for a longer term. Kozlov's wife announced that public activist Ayzhangul Amirova, who is also accused of inciting social hatred, may be released shortly on her own recognizance. I was able to see him Thursday morning. He looks fine considering he's in the detention facility. Also, he seemed quite cheerful. He understands that this whole criminal case and all the efforts of investigators are aimed at putting him in jail for a long time. Turuzbekova also said that she received a threatening message from a senior staff member of the National Security Committee in Astana. Allegedly, if she continues to give interviews to the media, they will do everything possible to prevent her from seeing her husband and limit her access to the information about his condition. In this message, this man from the NSC said that if I will continue acting this way, give all sorts of interviews and attract attention to the situation with my husband, they will create all sorts of problems with inspections for the detention center administration. Thus, all those who are detained there, along with the administration of the facility, will know that all problems are caused by Vladimir Kozlov, which will prompt them to deal with him accordingly. The authorities of Zhanaozen are dismantling satellite dishes from the roofs of buildings on the main street of the town and the Intimak Square, where mass riots took place in December of last year. Maintenance agencies are removing the dishes without the consent of their owners, under the guise of city beautification efforts, and referring to the special order from the city administration. Meanwhile, the administration itself claims that dishes ruin the outlook of the city and create some unexplained interference. More details on the controversy in the next report. Complete Khabarification reached the oil workers. One day before the trial of 37 defendants, Zhanaozen city administration took unusual measures by dismantling satellite dishes in the town. First, they were removed from the apartment blocks on the main street, used when the rare high-ranking guests visit the oil workers, or rather their management. Shamshurak, the wife of Barjan Nipes, who was sentenced to 3 years on charges of riots, wonders why the city administration is in such a hurry. At first, she was asked to move her satellite dish to the roof, as according to officials, it spoiled the view of the building, and then it disappeared altogether. The reply surprised Shamshurak. I asked where's my dish, and I was told that the people from the city administration took it. They removed all satellite dishes except for Otao TV. But if they dismantle all dishes, why would they keep the Otao TV ones? Shamshurak installed a satellite dish not to watch soap operas, but out of need. She is a mother of 4 children, and she had no time to attend the trials in Aktau. Therefore, she borrowed some money and bought a dish to watch an independent channel, which she believes broadcast the trial without censorship. My satellite dish allowed me to watch K+. I bought it just recently to watch Aktau court hearings, because other channels either don't cover them or twist the facts. For instance, not too long ago, when people were fainting and suffering here, some channels showed a woman smirking as if she was saying, "Let them die and burn in hell." For some people, the reason is very obvious. Local administration is trying to lessen the effects of independent channels. Others believe this really is just temporary repair works. I don't know, maybe they do get in the way. They take down the dishes along the avenue. I'm not sure about the rest. All I know is that they dismantled satellites on several nearby buildings. Do they mount them to the roof or they dismantle them completely? Yes, they take them down. However, they promise that later they will install them back on the roof. That's what we were told by the people from the local administration. Whether people will have the private satellite dishes later is still up in the air. One thing is clear. Residents of the Mangistar region regard this development as an attempt to hook everyone to the official Khabar TV channel and brainwash the population. A week ago, Minister of Transport and Communication Askar Jomaliyev said that the number of Otao TV viewers have reached 140,000, and by the end of the year, the government plans to cover 250,000 of the population. The cost of installing a satellite dish is a little over $180, but according to Zhanaozen residents, they will receive the dishes for free. Kazakh experts believe that such expansion of Otao TV in West Kazakhstan region is nothing but the result of the law on broadcasting adopted this year. Some articles of the law force companies to certify satellite equipment imported to the country and make all foreign channels available on the territory of the country, subject to registration with Kazakhstan's official bodies.
The document signed by the president in January has been heavily criticized by human rights groups and media organizations. Some have even called for Nursultan Nazarbayev to veto the law. The expert group, which proposed an alternative, declared that the inclusion of officials' amendments will place television in Kazakhstan under complete state control and deprive viewers of alternative information in TV form. Media representatives had noticed that the law was introduced partially to block Kazakhstan population from receiving K+, so disfavored by the authorities.
The head teacher of secondary school in Kızılzar village in the South Kazakhstan region was detained on charges of receiving $3,000 for providing assistance to school children in taking the mandatory unified national testing. For such a generous reward, the suspect promised to help the son of the local resident to pass the test. A criminal case has been initiated against the head of the curriculum department on charges of fraud and conspiring and attempting to commit a crime. The suspect is not leaving the city on his own recognizance. The accuser's son was taking the test on the day of arrest. The test began at 10 a.m. and the financial police officers arrested the suspect between 10 and 11 a.m. The financial police found over $3,000 in the pocket of the accused. This is the amount of the promised bribe. There was also his ID and some other money. It's not clear whether it was another bribe. School graduates and the Education Ministry are already reviewing preliminary results of the Unified National Testing. Almost half of all pupils have taken the test by now. For some, the mandatory exam turned into a real challenge. Children and their parents are dissatisfied with the way it was organized, in particular with the stepped-up screening procedure at the entrance to the testing facilities, test questions, and subsequently the results.
The initial results of the UNT were rather discouraging. In just 7 days, 101 graduates have been asked to leave exam locations due to violations. The Education Ministry announced the underwhelming statistics. The number of students failing to score bare minimum is bigger than ever. Almost a third of all graduates failed to pass the threshold of the Unified National Testing. Only a half of 5,000 candidates received the Altın Belge Award. The results after 7 days of testing show that only 10,511 students have scored over 100 points, which is 9.1% of all the graduates. We won't have detailed results before June 15. This is only preliminary data. Graduates and their parents have their own views regarding the tests. They say that some of the questions of the exam were never covered by school curriculum. According to some reports, it went to the point of ridiculous, with questions like how many buttons were on Ablay Khan's dressing gown or what is the size of President's foot. Education Minister Bakhtjan Jumagulov is not aware of such complaints and says there were no violations. At the same time, the scandal linked to the stripping of students still broke out. The minister said it was one-off, but outraged parents and children deny the statements of the official. They put their hand right in his pants. They were checking his scrotum. We've never seen a disgrace like this before. I was asked to raise my skirt, but compared to the others, this was mild. It was much worse for my classmates. They were running out crying. Some of them were checked twice and were asked to take off their underwear. As of today, more than 100,000 students have passed the testing, and some of them will have painful memories for the rest of their lives. Many people are asking how could one expect good grades from students after they went through intense mental pressure like this. Officials now have to answer for the promises they made. I promise you that we will do our best to make sure that UNT organizers follow the rules of etiquette when searching the students before admitting them to the exam rooms. According to Ministry of Education, as of today, only 3 graduates, Asel Kazykova from Astana, Kirill Kim from Almaty and Asya Maidarova from the Almaty region, managed to score the highest possible results on the tests. In the meantime, Labour Minister Gulshara Abdukalikova is concerned about the students' future employment and recommended them to enroll in medical or technical studies.
The opening ceremony of Euro 2012 was held on Friday in Poland. The first games that were played were Poland versus Greece, that was ended in a draw, while Russia completely dominated the Czech Republic with a score of 4-1. Football fans in Kazakhstan are also following the championship. In Pavlodar, a thematic tram was put into operation to mark the start of Euro 2012. Although the Pavlodar team does not take part in the competition, its popularity among the residents has not decreased. In a crowded team, the players of the Irtysh football club and members of the national team of Kazakhstan signed autographs and then presented footballs to children. Athletes said no one should miss such a big event as the European Championship and praised the idea to launch a themed tram in the city. Of course, we're dreaming of making it into the World or European Championships someday. I believe one day Kazakhstan will make it, but for that we need to work really hard and improve our skills. Paintings made by ballpoint pens were presented on Friday at the opening day of the exhibition of artist Zhanna Shakenova. This is already her 3rd exhibition, and it will last for 3 weeks in Almaty. The artist is a descendant of the great Kazakh hero Mahomet Utimisov. She remembers that the unusual format was chosen by chance when she saw a student drawing on the desk with a pen. The color gave her an idea to create graphic design, which later transformed into paintings at the exhibition. Zhanna has spent a little over 2 months completing the 10 works. She says her style is similar to the elegant and light French Rococo, although slightly different. Rococo symbolizes the escape from reality, whereas her works focus on Renaissance. The painting that awakened me is that of a snow phoenix. It was done by dotting and partly with mixed techniques. The snow phoenix struggling with the frost embodies our constant fight against eternal chaos and darkness and inspires us to live and move on. The painting illustrates early February and late March. During this time, winter is not over yet, but spring already starts to claim its power, and every living thing is awakened from deep sleep to get a breath of fresh air and enjoy the warm sun, seeking new love and continue living. This is all we have time for now. Make sure to watch Vlast KZ on Monday. Have a great weekend. Goodbye.